Chapter 1: The Forbidden Truth. Professor Zix-9's tentacles twitched nervously as he surveyed the alien students seated before him. His eyes flickered to the holographic display, showing a chart of galactic law, the strict banishment of humans from galactic warfare. It was a rule that had been in place for over 5 millennia, but for some reason, he felt the need to remind them all of its importance. "Now, children, I know you've all heard the tales about humans," Zix-9 began, his voice a low hum. "Stories of primitive creatures and their inability to grasp the concepts of advanced warfare, of their crude weapons and poor tactics. But the truth, the real truth, is much darker than any of you could ever imagine." A small, gelatinous creature in the front row, named Squarb, bubbled up nervously. "Professor, I thought humans were banned from war because they're weak?" Zix-9's 6 eyes locked onto Squarb with an intensity that sent a slight chill down the creature's gelatinous spine. "Oh, they may appear weak, but that is what makes them dangerous. You see, the real reason humans were banned isn't because of their weakness, it's because of their creativity." The class fell silent, the words hanging heavy in the air. Kiki, a bird-like student, raised one of her sharp, iridescent wings. "But Professor," she asked, her voice curious yet skeptical, "how could they be dangerous if they're so primitive? We're talking about a species that could barely operate their own planetary defense systems a few centuries ago. How could that be a threat?" Zix-9 adjusted his glasses, made for his 6 eyes, of course, and continued, his tone shifting to one of deep, cautionary gravitas. "You are all about to learn why the humans, despite their seemingly primitive nature, are the most dangerous species this galaxy has ever known." Chapter 2: The Great Zorian War. It all began with the Great Zorian War of 3576, Zix-9 began, his voice now laced with apprehension. The mention of the war sent a ripple of discomfort through the room. The Zorians, known for their brutal, militaristic tendencies, had once been among the galaxy's greatest threats. But when they encountered humanity, something changed. The Zorblons were a proud and powerful race, Zix-9 continued, pacing the length of the classroom with his antennae twitching in thought. They were technologically advanced and well-versed in the art of combat strategy. They had waged countless wars on every corner of the galaxy, but when they encountered humanity, they didn't just meet a challenge, they met their undoing. The students exchanged perplexed glances, unsure of what Zix-9 meant by this. How could a species so seemingly primitive overpower one of the galaxy's most ruthless forces? Zix-9's voice shifted to a more somber tone as he continued. At first, the Zorblons underestimated the humans, believing they were nothing more than simple, unrefined beings, no different from any other inferior species they had conquered. But they soon learned just how wrong they were. The gelatinous creature Squarb, eager to understand, bubbled excitedly. "So, the humans lost, right? The Zorblons won, of course?" Zix-9's many eyes narrowed with a heavy, almost fearful glimmer. "Oh, Squarb, if only it had been that simple." "Humans won," Zix-9 stated flatly. His words struck like thunder, leaving the room in stunned silence. Blowback, a large amorphous being with multiple tendrils, blurted out, "Wait. How? How did they win? The Zorblons were one of the most advanced forces in the galaxy, how could a species like humans beat them?" Zix-9's voice dropped to a near whisper. "Humans didn't win by sheer strength or advanced technology. No, they won through something far more terrifying, thinking." His voice faltered for a moment, as though the memory still haunted him. "They didn't just use their weapons. They redefined the very concept of warfare." Kiki's feathers ruffled as her wings trembled slightly. "But Professor, how could they have defeated the Zorblons if they weren't even technologically advanced enough to challenge them?" Zix-9 adjusted his glasses once more, his 6 eyes focusing with great intensity. "You see, the humans didn't fight the war by the same rules that we all abide by. While the Zorblons relied on their technology, their superior firepower, and their battle strategies, the humans did something extraordinary. They did something that no one had ever anticipated." Chapter 3: The Weapons of Mass Imagination. In the early stages of the war, Zix-9 continued, his voice growing quieter, the humans fought just like any other species, clumsy, inefficient, with crude weapons and tactics. They had no place in the grand scheme of galactic warfare. But as the war wore on, something unexpected happened. the humans, they adapted. And they adapted quickly. Zix9 paused, as if he was trying to gather his thoughts before he continued. Humans have a remarkable ability to think on their feet. They don't just follow conventional methods, they reimagine them, they break them. A hushed murmur ran through the class, with some students still unable to grasp the magnitude of what was being said. The Zorblins were so confident in their superiority that they dismissed humans as insignificant, Zix9 went on, his tone grave. But that was their mistake. The humans weren't fighting like the Zorblins expected. They were doing something else, something entirely unpredictable. Squarb, his gelatinous body shimmering with curiosity, asked, "Did they start making new kinds of weapons?" Zix9 nodded, his eyes darkening. They didn't just make new weapons. They made impossible weapons. They invented things that defied the very laws of physics. Gravity-defying bombs, molecular destabilizers, and weapons that harnessed the very fabric of spacetime. The room was now utterly still, as each student processed the gravity of what they were hearing. "Wait," Kiki interjected, her voice trembling with disbelief. "Did they create actual black holes?" Zix9's antennae twitched nervously. "Yes. The humans discovered how to create micro-black holes small enough to fit inside a spacecraft, yet powerful enough to destroy entire fleets. And they did it in less than a year." His eyes flickered with a mixture of fear and respect. It was beyond anything the Zorblins or any other species had ever imagined. The humans created and wielded weapons that shattered the very fabric of space itself. Blowback recoiled in horror. But how did the Zorblins not stop them? How did they lose if the humans were so out of control? Zix9's voice dropped lower, almost to a whisper. The Zorblins, they underestimated the humans. They thought they were just another barbaric species. They never considered that the humans could think their way through problems. They didn't just fight the war, they rewrote the rules of engagement. His eyes locked onto each student. The humans didn't just defeat the Zorblins, they erased them. They obliterated their entire civilization. No fleets. No survivors. Nothing. Kiki's wings flinched, her voice barely a whisper. But how could they erase an entire species? Zix9's voice grew heavy with dread. That's what makes humans so terrifying. When they found themselves at a disadvantage, they didn't just fight, they broke reality itself. They bent the laws of physics, and they used them as weapons. Entire Zorblin fleets were swallowed by miniature black holes. Planets were turned into nothing more than dust. And the Zorblins, they were gone. Wiped from existence. Just like that. The class sat in stunned silence, the sheer magnitude of what had transpired sinking in. Chapter 4, The Aftermath. When the war was over, and the Zorblins had been erased from the galaxy, the Galactic Council convened an emergency meeting. The truth was undeniable, humanity had proven itself far too dangerous to be allowed to roam free in the galaxy. "We cannot allow this," Zix9 said, recalling the fateful day of the council meeting. "We must do something to contain them. If we do not, humanity will destroy everything." The council voted unanimously to isolate humanity, to ban them from ever engaging in any form of galactic warfare again. And so, a decree was passed: humanity would be allowed to remain on Earth, under the strictest observation, with no involvement in intergalactic conflict. It was a law enforced by the entire galaxy. But, Blowback hesitated, what did the humans think of that? Zix9's antennae twitched with unease. They accepted it. At first, they were content. They had no desire to conquer the galaxy, they wanted nothing more than to be left alone. But their creativity, their boundless imagination, it was still a threat. Chapter 5, The Space Olympics, A New Beginning. Months after the Council's decision, the humans did something no one could have predicted. They sent a proposal to the Galactic Council. They wanted to participate in something new, the first intergalactic competition. Not war, but sports, an arena where they could test their abilities without resorting to violence. And so, the first Space Olympics were born. But what would happen next? Would the humans, still bound by their creativity, rewrite the rules of sports, too? Zix9 wasn't sure the galaxy was ready for the answer. Ready for more? Like, subscribe, and let's keep exploring the unknown together.